context is important? Why do you think people didn't eat? They said don't eat certain things back then. That's because they didn't have preservatives, refrigeration, or anything like that.
And also
because
to
of those things.
divide his people from the rest
Exactly.
of the people.
So there was context and needed to have context on specificities like that because of the fact that God was protecting certain situations and certain things and from situations that could occur. I think that was important to understand. Well, welcome to the 21st Men, where we are redefining masculinity through modern manhood. My name's Vince. Go ahead and introduce yourselves, guys, one more time for the camera.
Christian. Do you want more than that, or?
Can they have your social security number? Hey, everybody, Luis Green.
You got here Jose Acevedo.
Oh, snap. They're giving full names. I ain't giving you my last name. I ain't got time for that. No, I'm joking. So one of the biggest things that we're going to talk about today is fatherhood. We're going to talk about that. Everyone on the panel right now are fathers, and we're going to talk about different things that different fathers go through, how we individually go through them, and just really kind of talk to you guys as what a 21st man, meaning from millennials to Generation Zs to those who grew up in this generation, really look at fatherhood and the myths behind certain fatherhoods. But to start it off, we had a question on Instagram, and I want to go ahead and answer that question for you guys, or all of us actually are going to answer that question. And it came from at Ace79, and that's a number 9, not the spelled out. He asks, what is the take on dads kissing kids on the lips? It has always been a non-issue for me and my younger one. I will kiss that one on the lips, but the older one I kiss on the forehead. I never see those kisses as a sexual thing. He's asking if we agree or disagree. What do you guys think?
Well, first, thank you for asking the question, man.
Yeah,
and thank
man,
you for the interaction. In my case, I have 2 boys and 1 daughter, and I never did it. I never kissed my kids in my mouth. One time happened that they kissed me and I stopped it. Not because it's sexuality or nothing behind it, but the fact of health-wise. When kids are growing up, they don't have certain levels of, mechanism of defense and stuff like that. And we as adults, either we kiss our wife or we drink certain things or we do different things that we don't want to pass it to our kids.
I agree, yeah.
But thinking about it in a deeper perspective, also, I believe that coming from my belief being raised up by my dad was the fact that also back in my mind, the fact of if that's a norm or it's not a norm. If men should be kissing themselves in the mouth when there's no relationship more than a 1+1 relationship. So
what's
also,
a 1+1 relationship?
for example, like men and men being a partners, or wife and man being partners.
Okay.
So that in that point, I didn't want to send that what I believe in that moment when I was raising my kids, that wrong message. I'm nobody to be judging nobody on it.
I got 3 little ones, and I can definitely, I think I can really understand one side of the spectrum, which is like the younger kids, because my kids are still young, right? Mm-hmm. So I haven't gone through that next stage of, 18, 17, 16, 25, 48, whatever it is, I'm just joking. His kids are not that old. 55. But, so it's a little bit difficult to answer the second part of the question, but I think the first part of the question as it relates to like our family is, I do kiss all 3 of my kids on the lips. My wife hates it. She doesn't want me kissing the baby on the mouth because she's like, oh, the antibodies and,
antibodies.
Right. So there's that one. But they're just so cute. It's like they're cute.
Right.
Yeah. But, I was kind of thinking about that a lot because, Vince actually sent that out to us so we can kind of take a look and kind of think about it. And at first I was like, well, it's got to be a cultural thing, right? But culturally, we're both Latin and that's not the thing either, right? And I started thinking about, for me, I didn't grow up in a Latin-based culture necessarily. I was raised by a single female she's Caucasian, 5'10", green-eyed, blonde hair. So, it was, for me, I do kiss my kids on the lips, and, I think it never felt weird. It wasn't like something that I was like intentional, I gotta kiss them in the mouth. It's not like it was that way or it's never been that way. that's just kind of how it happened. Like the first time, Caden, my 4-year-old, the first word that he ever learned in Spanish was besito, which means kiss. And we're sitting down. I had him like this. I was holding his little hands, and his little hands were wrapped around my fingers. And I was like, besito, besito. And he just went.
It's funny how the different Spanish words are different Spanish cultures like that. So it's like something that I would say instead.
Yeah. So, he just came in for the kiss, like, I was like, oh, I kissed him. I was like, oh, Tia, did you see that? He understood what I'm saying. Besito, besito. So he kept doing it, right? And, I guess I just progressed into, just kissing on the mouth. It wasn't something that I intentionally was like, oh, that's the way it has to be. That's just the way it happened to be. I don't think there's a right or wrong. I think it's just, what's best for your family. Mm-hmm. But I think that there probably will be a time where, my son kissing me on the lips is going to be weird. Even my daughter, kissing me on the lips is going to be weird. And like I said, you separate. There's no sexuality to it.
Right.
But I think, they're no longer little and cute, right? So I think that you do have to migrate and put them. Yeah, so you have to migrate and put them, in the right context. They're no longer children that are kids. They are full-grown adults.
So I have a stepdaughter in the making at this point in time. I have a girlfriend, and she's got a little 6-year-old girl. So from the stepfather perspective, I don't think it's really appropriate to be kissing the stepchild on the lips.
I don't want my daughter to kiss.
I wouldn't recommend that. And so that to me, for any stepfathers out there, that's a blatant no. I think, and the consensus would be pretty much that's a blatant no on that. However, I think it's interesting if you have a desire to want to kiss your kids on the lips, and that's an issue in itself.
Mm-hmm.
You can easily kiss your kid anywhere else if you're feeling you have to kiss them on the lips, or that's something culturally you must do. I think that could be an issue because kissing on the lips is a romantic gesture in our society, and it's what we associate as the first step in a romantic relationship, oftentimes with a physical connection. So if that's the case, I think it can sometimes be viewed from the outside perspective as creepy. And I'll bring up a perfect example as Tom Brady had a huge issue a while back when he kissed his son, who's maybe 12 or 13 at the time. It was on one of his documentaries, and people were outraged by it because it was an extended long period of time. Now, a peck on the lips, maybe not so bad, but an extended period long kiss might be confusing to some others. So, anyway.
Tom Brady, if you're watching and you want to comment below.
Tom Brady. Yeah, thanks, Tom.
I think that this is a complicated issue. I think it's personal. I don't think it's anything more than that. I think people have to stop dictating what other people's families do and how they do it. I think that's very first and foremost. By the way, I think context on the stepfather thing is very important. Like, is the father there? Is it not? How long have you been in part of that child's life? All that kind of stuff.
When they grew up, were you there?
Like, were you there from a baby? Were you not? That kind of stuff for that sake.
Yeah.
But again, it is your personal family's lives, and I think that that's important to understand. As far as I am concerned, I don't see an issue with it, particularly when they're younger. I think it's I feel like you make it a problem if it's a problem. I feel like that is what you do. Mm-hmm. I didn't really look at it from a health perspective, so I appreciate that. Yeah, because honestly, I didn't see it from that perspective. And I really think that really kind of opened me up a little bit just hearing you say that, because I personally wouldn't have thought of that. It's funny you say that, because last night I was partaking in a little wine, and then I stepped on Kimura's foot a little bit, not because I was drunk, but because she was playing around doing something. I just wanted to preface.
Side note.
But I picked her up, I put her on the counter, I started rubbing her foot a little bit, and she's like, "Daddy, your breath smells like wine. It's disgusting." And that's what she says. And I said, "Okay, Kimura, I'm sorry, but then when you said that, I kind of thought about it. I was like, we drink adult drinks, that's important to understand. And I think that's important. But one of the things that I feel heavily on is when they start to hit puberty, when they start to question certain things. Hey, I like this boy, or if it's a girl, I like this, or if it's a boy, I like this girl, or whatever their case may be. I think at that point, you need to really kind of think about it. Okay, now they're sexualizing things.
Exactly.
So you need to step back. Like, you know what I mean? I think if the child starts to do it, you need to kind of differentiate and set that.
On that line, because I was thinking that you guys were talking about it, my concern also when my kids was growing up was that if I do it, they will see as normal. And what about if they do it then to another kid? You know,
Right, but-
and
yeah.
then there's a problem
I
there.
agree.
Then you know, society will be like, oh my God, he's probably being done that at home.
Right.
You know how they
Yeah,
go
and then,
crazy.
then you end up DCF at your door.
exactly.
And then I have a saying for DCF, and I'm going to say it because I don't care. It's actually partaken for if my child acts like a butt and does something, and then they try to come to my house and they say, "Oh, my daddy pops me," or whatever the case may be. If my daughter acts like a butt, I'm gonna beat her butt, and you can kiss my butt. I say it with a different word, but we're on air, so trying to be a little bit more cordial, PG. But with that, as far as that is concerned, yeah, you have to take into consideration society. I think it's important to. Now, a side note from that perspective. With raising my daughter, I think as a father, I want to give her every avenue of success. But, being not in the household full time, it kind of, you have those different teachings that are taught, and you know what I mean, from mom to not. And I feel like you have to, even being separated, you have to respect that mother's wishes. So, for instance, the mother of my child doesn't like me kissing her on the lips. So guess what I don't do? I don't kiss her on the lips because it's disrespectful to her mother. And I will not be disrespecting her mother, whether or not I'm with her or not. And I think that's important to understand because it comes off as disrespectful. And to them, it doesn't matter whether you sexualize it or not. If they're doing it, then you have to respect that because that's a mentality thing that maybe they've gone through something and you just don't know. So you just got to be mindful of society, other people in the child's life, stuff like that. And showing my daughter that I respect her mother's wishes shows her that she will get somebody or want a man in the future that will respect her wishes no matter what.
Correct.
And I think you're onto something about like the puberty side of things, because I started thinking about like other things that necessarily I wouldn't do with just everybody, right? Like I don't just go kiss everybody in the mouth. There is like a point in time I think where things that are okay, you gotta really think, okay, well, they're not okay anymore.
Yeah.
There's a time in the season for everything, and for me, I feel that there, like I said, there is a time in the season for everything.
Trust your instincts.
I love the fact that we were able to answer, and hopefully, and by the way, his name is Albert. His actual name is Albert. So I appreciate the question, Albert.
Thanks, Albert.
We appreciate you, and hopefully we answered some of your questions or concerns. But what we gauge from that, as a father, what do you see yourselves implementing or growing in your child? Like, do you feel like, let me put it this way. Actually, the better question would be, do you feel like your child looks at you as a representation of what he should be like or she should be like? Or look for?
Well, that's a great question.
Really
on my end, like Louis mentioned, I have teenagers. I have a 19, 18, and a 16. And
He's only 25.
I just started young, really young. So my older son one day told me for his prom, he asked me for certain clothes that he wanted to rock for his prom, and I was like, why those specifically? And his word was specifically, I want to look like you.
That's cool.
I want to dress like you, Baco. You look cool when you dress like that. And he always tried to go and talk about his relationship with whoever he is to try to mimic what me and my wife have done. How I pursue businesses, how I pursue my professional life. And that's like his standard, and my second boy also told me the same the other thing, the other day. He said, Pa, I'm not planning to go to college. I hope you're not disappointed by that. But I want to be going to the Coast Guard because my plan is to be having my own restaurant. I want to be a business guy like you. So I think, yes, we as male and our boys or girls, because my daughter, she said she wants to go to law because I went to law. They look up to us as either that's the example to follow or that's our goal. And I explain them to them because I don't want them to be that my goal is that. I told them our job as father is to make sure that you surpass us.
Yeah, yes.
That's when we feel like, okay, I accomplished what my goal was as a father.
Yeah.
Did you do that same thing with your father? Did you mimic some of the things he did, or did you see what he did as a what not to do?
So my dad is a 50-50 type of thing. My father had 10 kids, 5 different women. I didn't want that. I only wanted one wife, 3 kids, and that's it. My dad was an entrepreneur, and still today he's an entrepreneur. I learned that from my dad. Money management, I learned that from my dad. How to turn $1 into $3, $4 any way possible, I learned that from my dad. How to be a father before a man or a husband, I learned that from my dad.
Right.
You know, because my dad was, you know, he got remarried, but it was us before his wife. You know, so yes, I would say I did learn a lot from my dad and both ends, and don't do and do.
I don't think there's a choice you have. I think your children are going to observe you no matter what, the good and the bad, and they're going to take whatever positive traits, hopefully, and they might dismiss the negatives, or they'll pick up on both and use them both to. I mean, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. Is the old expression, and that holds true. I think that you have to be, if you're a father, you have to be on your best behavior. You have to be the most positive role model you can be at all times, because you never know what your child is observing of your behaviors, and they're going to mimic it because they're supposed to respect you. Even in the stepfather role, I realize with the 6-year-old stepdaughter that I have, she's observing my behaviors, and she's going to become a mother, so she's going to be a different gender than I am, but she's still going to pick up on the same traits and characteristics that I have, either negative or positive. So.
Yeah. I think Christian had a really, really good point is no matter whether you want them to or don't want them to, they're going to watch you, right?
Exactly.
They all watch you, right?
Exactly.
And it's funny, you learn a lot about what your kids say and do that you've done that you didn't realize you did, right? You know, like if you ever thought a curse word and all of a sudden they're saying like, where'd you learn that from? You, daddy? And they hear that from me, but obviously they heard it somewhere, right? So I think one of the biggest things for me, you know, I think it's always just being careful on what you allow them to see, right? Because you got to remember, they're only a certain age. Like I said earlier, there's a time, you know, for everything. There's a season for everything. You know, like I don't think that there's, at 4 years old, that he needs to be knowing if me and Tia have money troubles, right? Which we don't, but like let's say that was the case, right? There's certain things that you want to protect them from until they're at the right place at the right time, you know. And I think there's other things that, you know, we also sometimes think that our kids aren't as smart as they really are.
Yeah.
They're so much smarter now too.
Yeah.
They notice everything.
I was talking to Kaden
smarter than us, man.
just the other day, and we're driving in the Tahoe, and I was looking in the rearview mirror, and I was trying to talk to him about investing in real estate, right? And he has this piggy bank, right? And every time he gets money, he's like, I'm putting my piggy bank. Yeah. And then one day I was like, well, what are you gonna do with it? He said, I'm gonna flip a house. Context. At this point, he just thought like flipping a house. Like when I was like, oh, you flip a house, he's like, the way you grab something, you flip it over. I was like, well, we're not turning the house upside down, honey. But we started understanding that, right? And I started thinking, well, how much deeper can I get into that for him to see like, where does he really lose it, right? So I explained to him what flipping a house was, right? Simple. I said, you buy a house for $1, you fix it for $1, so now you have $2 that you gave somebody for that house. And he says, okay. And then I said, and then you sell it for $5. And he said, oh, okay. The next day, I told him that. I was like, the next day, I asked him, hey, what are you gonna do with your money? I'm gonna flip a house. I said, how much are you gonna buy the house for? He says, $1. And he said, now I'm gonna fix it with $1. So that's $2. He's 4, just turned 4, by the way. And I said, how much are you gonna sell it for? He says, $10. I was like, yeah, that's my boy. That's what I'm talking about. Let's go. Shoot. So, I mean, I think, you know, it's like, a lot of times, like, they're watching you, you know, but it's also really, you got to be intentional on what you're giving to them too, you know.
Teach the lessons.
You know, so they really do, and I think sometimes we're hard on them too. You know, like when we want them when we want them to be better than us, we sometimes put these expectations of them that aren't really
Way
real.
too
You know,
much.
there's a lot of pressure, right?
Yeah.
Like Caden with sports, you know, I find myself being really, really tough on him about sports. Like I'm almost taking out the fun.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, no, we gotta practice. Do you want to be a champion?
I do that with style with my little one. She'll do that and I'll say, Kamora, that won't match.
Yeah.
Come on now, Kamora, go back upstairs and put some shoes on that match. Do these, you know what matching looks like. Why are you doing this? Like, why are you annoyed? Like, I will say that. I'm like, you're annoying me. I was like, you need to go upstairs and do what I'd asked you to do. You know what to do. When in reality, what she's focusing on isn't the fact that she can't do it because I know she can. I think she's focusing on the fact that she thinks she's failing me. And I need to recognize that. Really happy though that she got her mother's kindness because it's a great balance to have. She won't let you play her no more. She won't. Some little girl called her a B. She's like, I don't mess with you no more. And she's like, why don't you talk? Like the mama was like, hey, why'd you just ignore that little girl? She's like, Mama, she called me a B. She's like, oh, okay. A year later, did the same thing. The little girl said hi. She just walked by her. Look, come on, what's going on? She's like, don't you remember, Mama? That girl called me a B. She's like, that was a year ago. She said, that don't matter. That don't matter at all. Dad wouldn't have that. So, like, I mean, certain things that she got from me, certain things she got from her mom is really a good balance there. But thank you so much for watching The 21st Man on Fatherhood. We have a departure into the second season. Mr. Jose, due to some branding and new ventures of his and some networking that he's throwing out, he'll be forever a part of the 21st Man Network and continuing on when we have our networking events and stuff like that. He will be coming out to them hopefully, for us just go track him down.
Definitely.
But he's going to be moving on to his own ventures, and you can go ahead and address everybody and just let everybody know.
I want to first of all thank everybody for watching us, and thank for the whole cast of the 21st Man for receiving me with open arms. But yeah, like Vince here mentioned, it come to a point where I need to move on and do some of the stuff that will not be aligning with the show. But I will still be part of the networking events, networking with the group, and making sure that the message is sent out there the right way. Thank you, Vince, for having me here and being part of it. Thank you guys for always, having my bug and everything. Thank you very much.
If you need any help at all with product branding and or art, like artists or not artists, what is it that
basically product management, product branding, or self-branding when it comes to being an artist or sport athlete. You can follow me on my Instagram and we can work and talk it out.
And his Instagram will be listed on the below. Thank you. Subscribe. Follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And again, we are redefining masculinity through modern manhood. Thank you so much.